Hello, welcome to the Superbone channel. We're interviewing top trombonists from around the world. And next up, we have Matt Amy. Say hi, Matt.
G'day.
All the way from Melbourne, Matt's a bass trombonist and professional arranger and composer. Studied at the Victorian College of the Arts and has written for many TV shows, including Dancing with the Stars, Australia's Got Talent, Australian Idol. The list goes on. He's worked with a lot of musicians in Melbourne, so it's really good to have Matt with us. Matt also has a really big band, which I remember from back in the day. I think you've got something coming up, or you've just started something.
Started something, got something coming up, both of those. That's right.
One of those things. Everyone loves a big band. How are you coping with isolation at the moment?
Look, I'm one of the very fortunate ones, having a salaried teaching gig full time, which gives me the freedom to be able to do my own thing as well, arranging and practicing and all that sort of stuff. But being at home, it's going to be very difficult to go back, man. Like, seriously. I've become used to, I think, teaching online, and which has gone really well for us to be able to deliver lectures and that sort of stuff. Being able to get out of bed at 8:30 and, get to work in 5 minutes after you have a quick shower and all that sort of stuff. But,
no commute, is there?
No, that's right. But practicing and doing my own thing is in the comfort of my own environment, I guess, is a lot better for me.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's good. Good to hear you're coping all right with the isolation. I know there's people out there that are not.
Absolutely.
It's tough around the world. Matt, can you tell us, let's get into your favourite jazz trombonists.
Yeah, when you sent me the question, I'm going, it's so hard to label, a favourite, because you're always listening to different stuff. And there's always that one trombone player that offers you something that someone else doesn't, But, tried and true, as with every other trombone player in the world, I think JJ Johnson is the go-to. I've got Ubi Green up there as well. I love his playing, especially his live stuff. There's a lot of realness within his playing and his live playing, Being a bass trombone player, there's not too many jazz bass trombone players around, and especially, there's a few, but there's not many recorded, bass trombone players around. And the Michael Davis album from '99 called Bone Town, which featured Bill Reichenbach, and we know that Bill Reichenbach was part of the Jerry Hay horn section on the Michael Jackson and Al Jarreau albums on tenor trombone, but he's versatile across so many different brass instruments. And as a bass trombone player and improvising bass trombone player, that album for me back in high school really epitomized, what a bass trombone player could sound like in the jazz idiom, and striving to sound like him and play like that as well, especially in the trigger register and the pedal register where it sounds the same. Across the entire horn, just the tone control and the quality of tone. It's incredible. And then, of course, Michael Davis off that same album, who produced that album and wrote the tunes for it, and his playing is out there for me. Just the lines that he comes up with, and his technique, I think, as well, which is a stark contrast to what Ubi and JJ were doing. And then there's Steve Ture as well. Steve Ture, I don't know how to pronounce it. which takes the trombone into a whole different idiom as well with the world music and what he does with the conch shells. And I actually had a teacher in high school who gave me a poster of Steve Ture, I think he was a Yamaha artist, and I had it stuck up on my wall with him and Dave Taylor, who played with the Bob Mitchell
trombone hero.
my two bass trombone heroes, my two trombone heroes in high school were of course, Steve Ture, Michael Davis, Bill Reichenbach, and Dave Taylor, along with George Roberts and some of those other guys. But
brilliant.
But so they're probably my top kind of
top
listening
five
that I go to fairly regularly.
It's quite a good mix of trombones, a few different styles, and it's good to see a bass trombone in there as well. When you listen to these guys, what would you like to take for your own playing?
With JJ, it's just the clean lines and the super clean playing, as with Ubi as well. But Ubi's got this huge, massive range on him as well, and the super legato playing also. I've already spoken about Bill Reichenbach, as a bass trombone player, when you're improvising, it's really easy for me, I don't know about other bass trombone players, but for me, I tend to spank the trigger register a little bit more than what I should, and I'm quite well aware of that. It's something that I'm working on. But when I'm improvising on that instrument, being mindful that when you're going into the trigger register, to really, you really have to hold back. You know, that the amount of air that's required to go down there, if you're up in the middle register, then all of a sudden jump down the lower register, that you have to really back off. Michael Davis, you know, some of the lines, he improvises very similar. For me, he improvises very similar to the way that he writes, you know, ideas that are strung together, fragmented ideas that are strung together, and develops those ideas. Yeah.
He has quite a good approach to, I find, you know, when he puts an idea together and puts a solo together, I enjoy the way he particularly does it. It's unique.
Absolutely, yeah. And as an improviser, jazz improviser, you know, that's what you're always striving to do, you know, rather than just playing whatever all the time. You know, you're taking that singular cell and trying to develop it. And then come back to it. And I think Michael does that really well. You know?
Yeah, fantastic. Let's get on to your own career and your own influences, Matt. Who was your first teacher and the biggest influence?
My first teacher back at Blackburn High School was Kent Fisk.
Oh, I had him as well.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, he was a tuba player, right?
Yeah, tuba player, yeah.
He got me started back in year 7. And I learned from him for 2 years up until I got to, you know, the end of year 8. And then Shannon Pittaway came along, and that's when I really made my transition, not through Shannon's influence, you know, part of it was, but my transition to bass trombone was at the start of year 9 and playing on a really old, crappy Yamaha bass trombone that the school owned, which served well. You know, there's another teacher called Orwayne Strengths, who was the leader of the Box Hill City Youth Brass Band, who kind of encouraged me to go towards bass trombone as well.
Yeah.
And between him and Shannon, year 9 for me kind of really became the tipping point as a trombone player, that I wanted to learn bass trombone and focus on it. And it wasn't until the end of year 9 that Shannon gave me 2 dances by Jean-Michel Defay, as well as variations on Barnacle Bill the Starter, and New Orleans by Eugene Botzer. So
I remember you playing Barnacle Bill a lot, actually.
And they were hard. And they were hard. You know, the end of year 9, you know, trying to play freaking Barnacle Bill the Sailor, and that's got a double F in it, you know, and a pedal C. I wanted to play that one in particular for year 12, and I knew that I wanted to do year 12 music. So I worked and managed to get the pedal C out and got the double F out. You know, for jazz trombone, it was Jordan Murray. When Shannon left to do his masters in Chicago, Jordan came into Blackburn, and I mentioned to him that, you know, I wanted to learn how to improvise. I knew who he was, saw him playing on Dancing with the Stars when it first started. I know this guy, you know, can improvise, and bloody improvise well. You know, one of Australia's, for me, I consider him one of, you know, Australia's greatest jazz trombone players, you know. And so he gave me a good grounding. You know, he's also solely responsible, and I have told him this, that he's solely responsible for me as an arranger, to give me my start as an arranger. You know, while I had many different opportunities, but it was him that gave me the grounding, I think, to transcribing big band charts as well.
Fantastic. Yes. 2 influences that I had as well, so that's great.
I know. Funny that.
Advantages of interviewing people that you went to school with.
The same high school, that's right.
Brilliant. No, I definitely second the Jordan Murray call. Like, while I only had him for a year as a teacher, you know, the influence you can just see from his teaching in so many Australian trombonists. And, you know,
absolutely,
he's a great encourager.
You know, well, just got to look at Shannon Barnett, you know, just seeing where she's at now, and, you know, the foundation that was given to us all from those sort of teachers, you know. Absolutely. It's unreal.
Brilliant. Matt, everyone's got a story, some sort of gig or rehearsal that went wrong. Do you have a funny story for us?
I've got quite a few, but two that stand out. You know, there's one that on my 21st, I was meant to do a Latin gig, and I wasn't inebriated or anything like that, but I left my mouthpiece pouch at home,
Mm-hmm.
And so, rocking up to the gig, the Latin gig was due to start at 10:30. I got there at 10:20, and I got a lift in with a mate, and I opened up my horn, and there's no mouthpieces in there. So I'm like, well, what do I do? So I can't remember who was on the gig, but I said to one of the trumpet dudes, I said, I need a mouthpiece, please. Have you got a trombone mouthpiece? I'm like, well, no. So I ended up doing the first set on a trumpet mouthpiece.
So how did that work? Did you just stick some tissue down the thing, or was it?
No, everything was up the octave and out of tune. But I sent a message home, and my uncle, who was staying with us at the time, drove in and dropped off a mouthpiece pouch and did the rest of the gig, and he stayed and listened to it until 2:30 in the morning, which is funny.
There you go. That's all right.
Yeah, it was funny. The other one, which was back in 2001, so I was still in high school, and this was one of my first professional kind of scratch orchestra gigs, was the centenary of Giuseppe Verdi's death. So he died in 1901. So the scratch orchestra that was organised in 2001 that just played all of his repertoire, all the beautiful arias and different works from different operas and that sort of stuff. And it was the first concert to get live streamed. This was at Melbourne Hall at Melbourne Uni, and it was a hardwood floor, the packed audience, live streamed to the net, one of the first live stream concerts to ever happen. And halfway through the concert, there was a speech from the MC, which was in Italian. This went on forever, like at least 15 minutes. And I'm getting bored. I'm playing with my mouthpiece. I'm still in high school. I'm still that teenager that boredom sets in after 30 seconds kind of thing. And and I'm playing with my mouthpiece, just looking around. There's a nice colour on the wall, and the windows. That could have been open a little bit stuff. And the next thing I knew, I went to rest the trombone across my lap, and what I didn't realise is that with fiddling with my mouthpiece, I didn't realise that the shank was in the lead pipe properly. So the next thing I know is that when the trombone went over my lap, the mouthpiece fell out onto the hardwood floor. In the middle of this speech, dead silence. This massive clunk sound on the floor, and everyone's kind of like turned around and looked at me, and I'm kind of doing the old, oh, what was that kind of thing. I'm looking around as well. Wasn't me kind of thing. And that was probably quite a humiliating experience, back in high school when you're getting paid $150, which is nothing, but it was a lot of money for me back then. It was the opportunity to be able to go, well, cool, this is what I'm practicing to become, kind of thing, this orchestral / session player, and I've bloody well dropped my mouthpiece on the floor.
Brilliant.
That's never happened since.
Wow. Well, it's good you did it early, because
that's right.
Learned that lesson before you're on Dancing with the Stars, and you do it. It's a good one. Matt, last one. We just want to shine a spotlight on what you're doing at the moment, and give any projects a pump up.
Like you said at the start, I have a big band, and look, I started my band when I was 18, straight out of high school, went into College of the Arts. I studied composition at the college, and wasn't playing as much as I wanted to. So I started my big band. We had almost a 5-year residency in Manchester Lane, which is a jazz club in Melbourne. And I decided to disband the band so I could focus on some other things. And so I thought, the hankering there was always to put the big band back together. And leading a band for me is, one of those things that I love doing, and same as arranging and writing for the band. So I thought, it's about time that I put out a record. I've never done my own record. I've never really put out my own recordings as a trombonist, which I'm very scared about. I don't think I ever will either. But I thought I'd build a completely new band from the ground up, write all new repertoire. So in 2018, I managed to do that and put the band into a studio to record 3 tracks. So I've just relaunched the crowdfunding campaign for that and try and finish it, which I was hoping to do this year. but clearly that's not going to happen.
Yes.
So it'll probably be next year that,
Yep.
that I plan on finishing that. So I think I sent you the link to the GoFundMe,
Yep.
but it's also on my website as well. LRBmusic.com. There's my plug.
Brilliant. We'll pop those links in the description and comments.
Cool,
yeah, just make sure people can get a hold of the crowdfunding campaign, which would be great.
Right.
Certainly can say that everything I've heard you arrange or lead has been spectacular. So I'm really looking forward to it. Well, Matt, thanks very much for joining us on the Superbone channel. It's been good to catch up with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anyone back home, check out Matt's website. Again, the links will be in the description and the comments. But for now, thanks very much for joining us, Matt. And we'll see you on the Superbone channel again another time. Thanks, Matt.
Good one. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for joining us on the Superbone channel. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to hear about any new videos coming up. We're going to release one every Saturday, so please stay tuned.